Let me tell you a few things about the God of creation, just in case you don't yet have the privilege of knowing Him. First of all, He's personally interested in every single part of His creation. He isn't some cosmic force that haphazardly thrusts things into existence only to then leave them to their own accord. He's organized and intentional. It takes only one glance at the life cycle of a butterfly, or the intuition of a honeybee, or the creative genius behind humanity being adaptable enough to survive in a constantly changing and increasingly hostile environment. These things don't just happen. And neither does an American family living happily on a hill in Virginia just happen to feel compelled to pack a few bags and move across the world. And it doesn't just happen that as they drive to look for a place to live once they've landed across the world, that they end up on a street with an empty house sitting right next to neighbors who have children, peer in age to their own, who speak perfect English. In a province where perfect English is rare, this is not a coincidence. Little boys grieving family left behind, and teenage girls grieving the lives they'd once envisioned for themselves were both seen and heard by a God who cares so much He led them straight to people who would love and value them. These friendships are not coincidence. They are divinely arranged encounters. The joy these neighbor kids have breathed into our lives is beyond measure. The loneliness they've quelled is beyond words. The laughter they've brought is beyond value. But God didn't stop there, because as He was preparing us to leave our homeland, He was preparing a handful of children in Thailand to receive the love He knew they were missing, but so desperately wanted them to have. He was knitting us together as a family long before we even knew each other existed. And to know His eye was on these little people, even as it was on us, gives me goosebumps, because coincidence doesn't meet needs, fill hearts, and change lives. A God with a tender heart and a big smile and gentle hands and a willingness to pursue even to the ends of the world does that. Each child that has filtered into our home has come with wounds that need healing. They come with pain, hurt, anger, confusion, bad habits, entitlement, and sadness. But they also come with arms eager to hug and be hugged. They come with hope that maybe, just maybe, their lives can actually be different than what they've known previously. They come with fears, but they also come with a desire for peace, a peace the God we serve is long past ready to give them. We have the honor of getting to watch them transform, not through anything we do, because trust me when I tell you, it's a gross understatement to say we're getting it all wrong, but they transform in spite of us, because God is that good and His love is that powerful, and at the exact same time as He changes them, He's changing us. Because in His infinite wisdom, He knew they didn't need us so much as we needed each other. Each day when Ua, the neighbor boy, jumps over the wall separating their driveway from ours, we're reminded just how far we've come for his friendship. And when his sister Fa walks through our door, her beautiful smile lights up the room. The kids flock to her, squeal when they see her, and wriggle their way into her lap or her arms. And while she could choose to stay safely tucked away in her own quiet home, she chooses instead to come with the offering of self our family is blessed by. We celebrate our similarities rather than getting hung up over our differences. We laugh about the rainbow of color our various skins create. We try each other's food, introducing the other to new culinary adventures. We get the biggest kick out of Fa's taste testing because she's careful and calculated and honest and thorough. She looks just like a judge on a Food Network show as she swirls each tiny bite around in her mouth before issuing a verdict. We tease Ua because he's mostly allergic to vegetables, yet he loves spicy noodles that make him sniffle and sweat profusely. As the saying goes, this is the house that love built. Love, in this case, literally being God, because He prepared the way for each person to find home here. For those of us who came from America, He provided our neighbors. For Wind and Jing, He outfitted us with bikes before they arrived, and nothing makes them happier. For Gao, God is increasingly giving him the gift of the English language in near miraculous fashion. For Sky and Fasai, He sent Namwan, who raised the bar and who also speaks the language our littlest girl needed to be heard in. For Wan herself, He's provided school challenging enough for her gifted mind. No detail overlooked, nothing ignored. We gather for worship each morning and evening, not out of duty, but out of gratitude. We sing off-key in various languages and often catch ourselves glancing around to see if the windows are open, worried the poor neighbors will be bothered by our racket. But we're reminded True and honest worship is never a racket. We may have a long way to go before we're ready to sing as a choir, but when I look around at the big brown eyes that have come these last months, expanding our worship circle more than we'd ever expected, I know it doesn't matter. All that matters is that we each allow gratitude to well up in our hearts, and as it does, we must learn to speak it, to sing it, because gratitude is life, it's hope, it's courage. It's the absolute assurance that as we can see how God has led in the past, meeting our needs and supplying even many of our wants, we can also know with assurance He will do the same in the future, no matter how uncertain that future may appear from where we're now standing. It says in Romans 4:20 and 21, He staggered not at the promise of God through unbelief, but was strong in faith, giving glory to God, and being fully persuaded that what He had promised He was able also to perform. This is our calling. This is our hope. Today, as we stand in Sukhothai, Thailand, our hearts are divided only by the separation from loved ones we've left behind. But we can see the full measure of God's grace in not only what we've been allowed to bring with us, but also in what He had waiting for the time we arrived. And we are grateful.